We're also learning new details about why two people gunned down a man on a motorcycle, then took the bike. That pair was arrested and accused in the shooting yesterday after a SWAT standoff near the Sunport. Police say Michael Commons and Mariah Hothan shot and killed Vincent McEnany on Saturday near Presbyterian Hospital. Police say that Vincent stole a motorcycle from them. They tracked him down and shot him, they say, and took the motorcycle back. Both murder suspects and the victim have a long criminal record that include vehicle theft and robbery.
This morning, the man accused of raping and beating an elderly woman is no longer charged. The DA's office has yet to say why. Ernest Casillas was arrested last month, accused of attacking the 75-year-old woman in her home and beating her with a hammer. Court records show his charges have been dropped, but without prejudice. Now that means they can be filed again. So happening today, deliberation in the murder trial of James Holmes.
The fate of the man accused of killing 12 people and injuring 70 others in a movie theater now rests in the hands of the jury. The defense and prosecutors delivered their closing arguments yesterday. Prosecutors tried to drive the point that they believe Holmes knew exactly what he was doing, but the defense says Holmes was insane.
He came there with one thing in his heart and in his mind, and that was mass murder.
When Mr. Holmes stepped into that theater on July 20th, 2012, he had lost touch with reality.
Jurors had to listen one more time to the 911 tapes with the relentless sounds of gunshots and the youngest victim who took a bullet that killed her. Jurors will have to consider more than 11 weeks of at times graphic and emotional testimony as they deliberate.
We turn on to this. Are you among the hundreds still waiting for your driver's license to come in the mail? The state is facing major delays because of a new computer system. A spokesman says the people affected are those who applied for licenses between May 25th and June 30th. Now, on the Vehicle Division's website, it says they're taking the full 45 days now to get them delivered to you. For a closer look at the story, including the state's explanation about this pretty big glitch, head on over to our website or go to our KRQE News app.
Pretty hot topic this morning. The chairman of the Oklahoma Republican Party is making national headlines for a Facebook post. This post touts the government's food stamp program is proudly distributing free meals to 46 million people and also says, quote, the National Park Service, administered by the U.S. Department of the Interior, asks us to please do not feed the animals. Their stated reason for the policy is because the animals will grow dependent on handouts and will not learn to take care of themselves. This ends with, thus ends today's lesson in irony. Meanwhile, Chairman Randy Brogdon says his words were misinterpreted and the post was eventually taken down. New study shows a diet full of saturated high-fat food can impair the brain pathway that controls motivation. This might be interesting to you. Canadian researchers found that eating fatty foods can affect brain activity related to mood disorders, drug addiction, and overeating.
But it sure does look good,
know,
doesn't it?
does. It's too bad, isn't
We
it?
just ruined everybody's diet this morning.
I know.
Turn now to a live look of our nation's capital this morning, where today the president will hold a press conference as he continues to make a case for the Iran deal. Under the agreement, Iran will freeze the bulk of its nuclear program for a decade, and economic and financial sanctions would be lifted. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have already begun to pick apart this agreement, which also lifts a UN arms embargo against Iran over time. Congress has 2 months to review the deal before voting on whether to lift U.S. sanctions against Iran.
By the way, this deal could actually mean cheaper gas for a longer period of time. Iran has not been able to sell oil since 1995 because of sanctions. Once it's verified that Iran is holding up its end of this agreement, they could become an added source of crude oil, dropping prices. Analysts say we can probably expect $2 per gallon by this fall if everything goes like they think it will. Controversy this morning in St. Louis after a man showed up near the scene of where a police officer was shot with a controversial sign.
Yeah, take a look at your TV screens here. It reads, "How does it feel?" A reference, the man says, is to the countless black lives who have been killed by other officers. The man says he wants his sign to make you feel uncomfortable and also spark conversation, and it sure has. A teen girl who survived a deadly plane crash and a harrowing hike to safety in Washington is now recovering at home this morning.
And for the first time, we're hearing from that teen in 911 tapes. Listen.
Are you injured at all?
Yeah, I have a lot of burns on my hand, and I'm like kind of covered in bruises and scratches and stuff.
It's pretty emotional for her, but authorities are calling 16-year-old Autumn Veach a miracle after surviving that crash. Police say she was flying with her step-grandparents from Montana to Washington when they encountered bad weather and slammed into a mountain. From there, Veach made it down through the rough terrain and then hiked to safety where she flagged down a driver. Search officials located the wreckage last night. They will attempt to reach the crash site again this morning to determine exactly what happened.
Wow, that's
crazy?
remarkable. Similar to the story, I think it was a 6-year-old that did that. Oh, terrifying for her. Okay, let's take a look at this new video this morning. It shows a plane coming in for a landing in the most unexpected places. Yep, a highway. As you might imagine, heads turned, traffic came to a crawl after the small plane carrying students from a skydiving school made the emergency landing on the highway in New Jersey. Apparently, the plane lost power shortly after takeoff. Luckily, nobody on board or on the ground was hurt or injured, but take a look at the video here.
I know, it comes right up to those cars.
That is so close and terrifying.
Imagine seeing that in your rearview mirror.
Imagine you're driving on the other side of the interstate, and you're like, wait a second.
So many imaginings in that scenario.
Am I on at the airport? What's going on here?
Well, it turned out well, so that's good. Reaping the...
They're accusing my son and bashing me, too. Bashing me, and I have nothing to do with the thing.
Many people are responding to this mother of one of the teens accused of killing Albuquerque bartender Stephen Garrick. This morning, she's maintaining she's not responsible for her son's actions. On Facebook, though, some New Mexicans are saying that parents should be held accountable with these comments for what their teens do. Yeah,
and a New Mexico lawmaker is paying attention as well and is now working to pass legislation to put the pressure on parents for kids who are not at home. Linda Hubler says her son was missing for days when the murder of Stephen Garrick happened. Well, she claimed she called police. There's no report of him missing. Democratic Representative Patricio Ruiloba says parents who do not report their kids missing after 36 hours should be criminally charged. That's what he proposed in a bill just last session.
When I have parents calling me that their child run away, the first question I ask is, did you report it to law enforcement? And many times, no.
So that bill would have also required police to get CYFD involved when a runaway is reported. The idea died in committee, but Ruiloba plans on introducing the proposal again next year.
Time is 6:33. Community groups are making some progress in helping Albuquerque police work closer with the community. This community policing council in Northeast Albuquerque is one of 6 in the city, and the new citizen groups meet as part of the city's agreement with the Department of Justice to help improve the police department. Since their start, there have been a few changes, like APD posting more safety tips on social media. People in the Foothills Council also had some concerns over police cars with tinted windows.
There were officers driving in the neighborhood, and they couldn't always tell if there was an officer in the car, like if it was idling on the side of the road. Maybe an officer's writing a report. Is there somebody in there? Should I be concerned?
APD started checking its cars, says it did find a dozen had illegal dark window tints. It says that officers with those cars footed the bill to fix them themselves. This morning, we're getting an inside look at the sophisticated mile-long escape tunnel used by El Chapo to escape prison. And now Mexican authorities are releasing some video here of the moment of the escape. You can see him go to the shower where a hole was dug leading to an underground mile-long tunnel. In that tunnel, there was ventilation, lighting, and a bike. And authorities think he rode through the tunnel, then climbed up a ladder that led to a newly built house. Authorities think Guzman must have had help from inside and have already fired 3 prison officials, including the prison boss.
And Adam, we're also hearing from a New Mexico native who spent 31 years working for the DEA. This morning, he says the prison escape of the Mexican drug lord El Chapo raises concerns on both sides of the border. Michael Vigil, a retired DEA chief of international operations, recently wrote a book called Deal on how he infiltrated cartels. Vigil says the escape strengthens an illegal drug network that's done great harm in the U.S.
New Mexico has a 180-mile border with Mexico, and at one time that area was controlled by the Juarez cartel.
But Vigil says the Juarez cartel is weak and Guzman has taken over, meaning he will be funneling more drugs through our state.
So the storms that we've been getting this month are producing a lot of thunder and lightning. You know that.
Yeah, and while it may make you jump a bit, there's an even bigger problem. This morning, Animal Welfare is sending out a warning to pet owners before something bad happens to your pet. News 13's Catherine Mazzone spoke to the experts for you.
The sound can be startling. especially if you're not expecting it. But imagine if your hearing was even better. Well, it is for your pets.
Dogs' hearing is so much more acute than ours, so when you get scared by that bolt of lightning and thunder that happens, it's really bad for them.
It's why Animal Services Director Misha Goodman is blaming a week or more of loud sounds for sending a number of pets running scared, from fireworks on the 4th to monsoon storms. She says it's led to an uptick in the number of pets coming into their facility.
A lot of them are shaking as if they've had a bad experience.
What's more, many of them have no form of ID.
No collar, no tag, no microchip. That too is so important so we can simply get the animal back home.
Goodman says there are steps you can take to keep this from sending them bolting in the first place.
If you have an animal that's scared of this type of storm on a regular basis, you can look at the weather, maybe talk to your veterinarian about getting some kind of medication to help your animal out while you're away.
It's important to bring your pets inside during these storms. Goodman says if you have a puppy, you can train it early on. Just head online and look up thunder sounds. It's pretty easy to find. From there, you can start by playing the sounds softly for your pet. And as long as you don't get too loud, you can gradually bump up the volume until the sounds no longer bother your pup. Catherine Mazzone, KRQE News 13.
So Animal Services also stress the importance of keeping your pet's rabies vaccines up to date. When pets run off, they're likely to come in contact with wildlife. Plus, when they're scared, they're more likely to bite. We turn now to a live look over Washington, D.C., where some are wondering if Donald Trump could soon call the White House home. Why? Well, Trump now leads a new Republican presidential nationwide poll released on Tuesday. It marks the first time he's held the top spot since announcing his candidacy and after his controversial comments about Mexican immigrants. According to the new survey, Trump secured 17% support. Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush came in second at 14%. The rest of the 2016 field remained in single digits.
And an Orlando police officer is in the hospital as we begin the day as his colleagues try to find the driver who ran him over. Watch this dash cam video. You can see the officer making a traffic stop, and then the car lunges forward, but it's blocked by another vehicle there at that red light. So soon after the passenger jumps out, runs off, Anderson ran in front of the car there, and the driver tried to plow him down. You can see him run over him right there. Another driver swooped in to block traffic with his car and prevent that officer from getting injured further, but they were at least there to help him in that instance.
And obviously you can tell that he believed the suspect was dangerous because he had his gun drawn the whole time.
He did. He was going to go get that passenger too as they ran off. It's too bad.